Welcome to Nevertheless, a show dedicated to organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. Today, you will discover how to discern your essence and live powerful.
Hi, welcome to Nevertheless, a show for organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. My name is Bidemi Mark-Mordi. I'm excited this afternoon as I record today's show. It's a powerful topic, even though I say so myself. And I do hope that you will put yourself in the right frame of mind and hear what it is that we're talking about today. And if you do find it useful, because I know you will, don't be stingy. Come back to me and, I'd love some feedback. The show again is Nevertheless, and today we will be looking at original intent, equal opportunities. Yes, you heard me. Original intent, equal opportunities. And I'll be looking at some stories that have been trending on the Nigeria media space and what lessons I think that we can draw from them in living lives that are purposeful and powerful. But before we get into today's show proper, I want us to just do a short recap on what it is that we did last week. Last week, we looked at the 4 phases of fear. That was one show I wasn't even sure how it would be received, but it's turned out to be one of those shows that has received the most views and follows and listens. And so I'm grateful to everyone who helped push it. I've even had a few people say to me, can we reproduce it on our own platforms? And I'm saying, please share away, reproduce the entire transcript, because the idea is that fear has crippled a lot of us. When we looked at the 4 phases of fear, we said that fear manifests in different ways in different people. For some people, it manifests as self-sabotage. For some other people, it manifests as fighting or fight. Different ways that fear manifests. All in the end, just to make sure that we don't get it done. And we anchored in the place that, look, you are accountable to God and accountable for the gift you've been given. So do make a great use of it. The show is still Nevertheless, and I'm Bidemi Mark-Mordi. This is coming to you from Lagos, Nigeria. It's very sunny out here. And then when I come back, we'll dive right into today's show to begin to say to you the things that the Lord has laid in my heart to share with you about how you can make the best of your life. Looking at people, especially in the Nigerian media space right now, that are trending, and what it is that we can learn from their lives. I'll be right back after this break.
In a world filled with many fears and discouragement, life often becomes a burden. For those who know the way, life's just simple. Don't worry, you're not alone on this life's journey, as Bidemi shares powerful insights and principles from her everyday work and life experiences in her book, Nevertheless. Nevertheless is a book designed to encourage and equip you to face life with courage, hope, and determination. Get a copy of Nevertheless from a bookstore near you or call 234-813-360-2883 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmordi.com to place your order now. I guarantee you will make it nevertheless.
Welcome back. It is still Nevertheless, and I'm still here. Today the show is titled Original Intent, Equal Opportunities. What do I mean by that? I don't know how the thought dropped in my mind, original intent, and I needed to find out what it meant, maybe in popular parlance or in professional circles, before I took it to what it is I want to talk about here today. So I did a Google. It's the easiest way to find out something. And I found out that original intent is a theory that is mostly practiced in the United States of America in law. And what original intent as a theory holds is that it says that the interpretation of a written constitution is or should be consistent with what was meant by those who drafted and ratified it. I'll say it again. I got this from Wikipedia. It says that original intent holds that the interpretation of a written constitution is or should be consistent with what was meant by those who drafted and rectified it. So I'm taking a look at my life and I'm saying that to be able to deliver at the best level concerning my life, one of the things that I must do is I must know what the intention was in God's heart when He was creating me. Essentially, that's what original intent is, to put it as simply as it is possible. And what all of this is saying, that you cannot interpret the use, or you cannot deploy a law except you take off from the platform of what whoever drafted that law was looking at. But I'm taking, yes, loosely original intent, but I'm bringing it to the fact that God is our creator. And He has a manual, He has a why for why He's created each and every one of us. He's gifted us, we've talked about that here before, with something in our individual DNAs that will help us actualize the dream in God's heart for us. And that's the original intent. I'm of the opinion, and I want to say it one more time, that you cannot succeed beyond what God has put in your DNA. So in Nigeria, in the last 1 week or thereabout, or couple of weeks, 2 people have been trending majorly. One of them is Dr. Innocent Chukwuma, the MD of Innocent Motors, or Innocent Vehicle Manufacturing Company. And I have followed his story, and I'm just blown away by the things that this man, out of sheer determination and an ability to just keep going one step after the other, has been able to achieve. The other story that has been trending, and this has trended really much, a lot, to the extent that I think that CNN did a show on this, is the story of the lady who was hawking bread and stumbled upon a photo shoot by T.Y. Bello, the ace photographer, and things just blew up from there. And all of a sudden, within 10 days, she's become a supermodel. She's become, someone who's had a lot of press. She's become someone who's been gifted with an apartment to stay with. She's become the face of a brand in Nigeria. She has a modeling contract. All kinds of things are happening. And I'm seeing a lot of people on social media actually praying and saying that their luck would turn suddenly like that. And while that is a great story, I've been thinking about it and I've been meditating on it, and I'm like, yes, it would be nice for my luck to turn suddenly, but really, do I want my luck to turn suddenly like that? And I'm going to be taking us through reasons why I think that we can learn from these 2 people, from Dr. Innocent Chukwuma and from Olajumoke. And in the end, we will draw the conclusions that I believe that we all need to draw, so that we can deliver on God's original intent for us. Now, when we talk about original intent, it's what God had in mind before He put you on planet Earth. And why everyone is going around saying that this lady was an agege bread hawker, I beg to disagree. In her DNA was written supermodel. She may not have recognized it. She may not have done anything to prepare for it. And her moment came. But in her DNA was written from the get-go, from the foundations of the earth, supermodel. That's what was written. Because without trying, she just came out like that. Now imagine what happens when she's prepped and what can come out of her. So even though in the moment she had to be hawking bread to survive, it was not who she was. And this speaks to those of us who think that what we are, or what we're doing right now, or where we're at right now, or our situation and circumstances today are who we are. That's not who you are. You are just there right now. And if you do the things that you are supposed to do, you will transcend there. Now, the thing that I see in Olajumoke's story is that while all of us are praying and we're excited, we're celebrating this story, is a major breakthrough and turning point for her life and the things that her life would, accomplish. And I agree with all of those things. But I know that, as a matter of fact, this only happens one time in a million. So the question is, what happens to all the other number of people who don't get this kind of opportunity? Does that mean that they cannot be successful? I think no. You can still be the person that God is ordained for you to be, because God's original intent is very simple. He says that my thoughts towards you are of good, not of evil, to give you a future and a hope, and to bring you to an expected end. He says, it is my wish above all things that you prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. So God had already designed for each one of us to get to the pinnacle of whatever it is that He's called us to. The question is, if it doesn't happen for me suddenly, like it happened for Ms. Olajumoke, does that mean that I cannot make it? I want to put it out there and say to all the other agege bread hawkers who are now wondering, why was it not me? That even in your own DNA, something is written. And if you take 2 steps back and find and discover that thing, you can even be a bigger success than Olajumoke can be. And I don't say that lightly, because I've seen it happen time and time again. It's happened in my life, and so not one of us is disadvantaged. So in looking at these 2 individuals, what have I learned? And I think you should be learning. I want to take Dr. Chukwuma first. The first thing that I learned from Dr. Chukwuma's story is you must start with what is native to you. You must start with what is native to you. Dr. Chukwuma is from the eastern part of Nigeria, and we know that, they are very industrious people. So being in business is native to men and women from the eastern part of Nigeria. So he started, but he didn't start from day one wanting to manufacture cars. He started by just being a spare parts dealer. I believe that he probably would have trained under someone to become a spare parts dealer. That's what is native in that part of the country. Young men who want to become businessmen go and apprentice under other people who are already running the business, and they learn the trade. What I'm saying is you must start with what is native to you. He must have learned a trade, yes, but it had to be that he has an interest in business to have started. I am doing what I'm doing today because words are native to me. They are my DNA, they are organic to me. And if you do not start from what is native to you, you may never get it. Now, this young lady, Olajumoke, to go back to her, showed up on a set of a photo shoot. Even though the stories say that she was confused when she got there, because some people were saying to her, move away and all of that. And she showed up a supermodel without trying. What do you think that is? It was native to her. It was in her DNA. This is not prepped. This is not put together. But she showed up, and she showed up as a supermodel. And so my point is, begin with what is native to you. Start from there. The second thing that I see in Dr. Chukwuma's story is that you must see the big picture. I listened to his interview, and he said we started from selling spare parts. Then we went into, manufacturing motorcycles. We manufacture tires. He said, then we started to assemble. He said, but we always knew that we would manufacture a range of vehicles. That was someone who could see the big picture. I'm sure that, he probably had 1 or 2 people who were his neighbors in the shops in Enugu or Nnewi. I don't know where his shops were when he was a spare parts dealer. And I'm sure that once in a while he might have shared with them that he was going to be a car manufacturer. And I'm sure most of them laughed at him and said, no, that's for the Hondas and for the Toyotas and the Mercedes-Benz of this world. But he had a dream. He could see a big picture. Somehow, even though it didn't make sense, in his DNA, he kept saying that I will manufacture cars. Because when I read that interview, it was one of the most simple interviews. I didn't see a man trying to, put up airs or anything. He said it the way it was for him. He said, even though we started from here, this was always the dream. So see the big picture even as you start. For instance, I know that ultimately the media mountain is one of the places that the Lord has called me to. But I started with just printing newsletters. We've now moved into magazines. We now do books. And by the grace of God, we'll be launching a radio station soon. These are the things that can happen if you see the big picture and you take it one step at a time. The third thing that I see in Dr. Chukwuma's story, and I think you must see too, is that you must start with what you can do. Dr. Chukwuma started with selling spare parts. He didn't go around thinking, I want to manufacture cars, so cars are what I would manufacture. He started with the easiest one. And if you have been listening to my shows and podcasts in the past, you will recognize that I always say that you should start with what is the easiest. Just going to buy spare parts and resell them is one of the easiest things in the process of becoming a car manufacturer that you can do. So start with what you can do. Don't begin from the top. Begin from the ground up. And that was what Dr. Chukwuma did. The fourth thing that I have learned, and I think you should learn too, is know what the next step should be. Even though he was selling spare parts, one day he woke up and he said, look, I have been asking questions and I have discovered that Nigeria has one of the best rubber plants in the world. And he said, we will begin to manufacture tires. He knew the next thing and he went for it. For you to be a success like this man is, or is shaping up to be, you need to know what is the next step for you. Pick your greatest value by knowing the market. He said, oh, Nigeria has rubber. So the raw material to manufacture tires was not that difficult to find. And he graduated from just selling spare parts to that. Then the next thing he did was, he said, oh, I would begin to manufacture motorcycles. And he started to manufacture motorcycles. Then one day he got up and he said, you know what, we will begin to do buses. Why didn't he start with the jeeps or the SUVs or high utility? He started with a bus because he knew his market. He knew there was a demand for buses and he knew he could deliver. So he started from there. So know what is next and do that which is next. The fifth thing that I learned from Dr. Chukwuma and I want to put out here today is you must start small but think global. Start small but think global. I read his interview and he was saying, he said, you know, we are over 50% local content right now and we are producing or manufacturing at international standard or world standard. So even though he's manufacturing what we call made in Nigeria cars, he's doing them at an international level so that people will not come and say, oh, the standard is not up to scratch, and then begin to, pull down what he's trying to build. So start small, but think global. That's one of the things that I saw that he did. The sixth thing I think you can learn from Dr. Chukwuma is use resources around you before pushing for beyond your surroundings. Use the resources that are around you. In manufacturing tires, he went that route because Nigeria had good rubber. By the time he moved on to manufacturing vehicles, he began with buses because, if you know anything about Eastern Nigeria, transportation is one huge business for them too. So he looked at his market, he knew his market, and he said, look, if I do buses, then maybe our people will buy faster than if I begin to do personal vehicles. And that has played out well for him because his buses had been running. Some governmental agencies have even bought. They are a lot more confident to go and buy their personal cars from him. So use resources around you before pushing for beyond your surroundings. That's the way that works. Then the seventh thing that I learned is you must always push for excellence. Major on the majors. I saw a post by one of my friends on Facebook, and he said that one thing that he's learned from both Dr. Chukwuma and from Olajumoke is the fact that Dr. Chukwuma doesn't have the best command of the English language. But he knew that English language is not what it's going to take to become a vehicle manufacturer. So he majored on the majors. I'm sure that if you ask him how a car is manufactured from start to finish, he has the template, he can tell you. Now, if he needs to go give a speech somewhere, he can hire a speechwriter because he had majored on the major things. What am I trying to say? I'm saying push excellence. Major on the majors. I want to believe that for him, the safety of his cars is higher on the priority than the English language that he speaks or his command of the English language. So when you are trying to become this successful person that we're talking about, original intent, I'm saying push excellence. And then the final thing I learned from Dr. Chukwuma is make a contribution. I also, from his interview, he was asked, so what do you see? And he said, we just want to make a contribution to the Nigerian economy. But he also said in the same breath, and we can guarantee that the lives of those driving our cars are safe because we make sure that our cars are manufactured to international standards. He's making a contribution. He's creating jobs. And I especially like him because he didn't come to Lagos to set up his manufacturing plant. He puts his manufacturing plant in Nnewi. That's where he's from, or at least he's from that general direction. And the idea is, someone else will say, oh no, it's only in Lagos we can make this impact. But he's put it there. Do you know how many jobs that will create for his people? I actually heard him say that they only source for expert skill if it is not readily available within the country. He's making a contribution to the Nigeria economy. The show is still Nevertheless, and we're still looking at original intent, equal opportunities. When I come back, I'll share lessons that I learned from looking at the Olajumoke story, and I'll draw my conclusions. Please don't go away.
Are you frustrated and tired of life? Do you feel trapped in life's maze and don't seem to find your way? Or are you passionate about your purpose and destiny and want to find out more? Then get a copy of DNA. DNA Destiny Navigational Application is a book written by Bidemi Mark-Mordi, where she coaches you to distill the answer to the cry of purpose, mandate, and significance. She teaches you how to discern your essence, discover your God-given mandate, deploy power, and demonstrate dominion. Get a copy of Destiny Navigational Application from any bookstore near you or call 234-813-360-2883 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmodi.com to place your order now.
Welcome back. We are still looking at original intent, equal opportunities. The show is still Nevertheless, and my name remains Bidemi Mark-Mordi. That's not going to change. I was looking at the Olajumoke story, and I see a lot of emotions playing out. I see a lot of deep stuff. I've also seen a lot of shallow stuff around her story. But the more I pondered about her story, the more I started to realize that this is success, yes, but this is success that has every potential to break down, except someone knows what they are doing. Now, I'm not praying that she will break down. I have nothing to gain, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that this woman, now more than ever before, has a responsibility to be a lot more intentional if this success that practically fell on her lap on one fateful day will be sustained and maintained. So what is it that if I had her sitting in front of me and I had to give her counsel, and for all the other Olajumokes in the world, what would I be saying to her? The first thing I would say to her is recognize that you are not prepared. Accept and acknowledge that fact. Yes, you sauntered into that place and you showed up in the gate of a supermodel, but that doesn't make you a supermodel yet. Because between the DNA of a supermodel and becoming an actual supermodel is a lot of work. I'm not a model, but I have seen documentaries on what it takes to model. So you need to just come here humble, recognizing that you were not prepared for this. Acknowledge it as a fact, because here's the thing, the way my mind is working on this point. If you recognize that you are not ready or that you are not prepared and this thing is chanced upon you, then the tendency for you to be prepared to do all the hard work that you need to do so that you can sustain and maintain this success is higher. But if you saunter there thinking that, okay, it will always be a walk in the park, then you have another thing coming. My prayer for you and for every other Olajumoke that life will bring our way and we will celebrate is that you recognize this and you work it out to become the global success that you have in your DNA to be. The second thing I would say to her, if she was sitting in front of me today, is you must submit to wise counsel and support. Submit to wise counsel and support. People say every time that success has many friends. And I know that at this stage of your life, you will begin to have a lot of friends, some higher than you, some just below you, but that's life. A lot of people will now want to be known as your friend. Make sure that you only submit to wise counsel and support. Be very careful whom you are listening to, because here's the thing, just one bad counsel can put you in trouble forever. How did I know? Absalom took counsel from Ahithophel. What he did not realize was that Ahithophel had something against his father, and that broke down so many things in David's family. You don't want to be that person who's just taking counsel from people whose work and fruit do not show that they are wise. Submit to wise counsel and support. The third thing that I want to say is you must be accountable. You can't have this kind of opportunity, God forbid, and then 5 years later we begin to hear how you messed it up. That will not be fair on the person who put her influence at your disposal, and that will not be fair on the God who gifted you. So make sure you remain accountable. Point number 4, never outgrow your breakthrough points. I know T.Y. Bello will not exact on you, not that I know her personally, but from the things I've heard about her and have read, I don't think she's going to come to exact upon you. But she was the breakthrough point for you. And if you want to remain in that grace, you must never outgrow her counsel. You must never outgrow her. As a matter of fact, I say it here, and I'm not saying it jokingly. I'm very serious. I don't think that you should ever put your hand to paper to sign anything or reach any agreement without running it by her. Not because she's your God, but because she's the angel looking out for you right now. And you need to get that. So never outgrow your breakthrough point. Otherwise, if you do, you will push up the ladder with which you have climbed. And I can assure you that when you need to come back, it will be a big crash. My prayer again is you will not crash in Jesus' name. Point number 5 is you must keep developing. Don't rest on your oars. Because maybe they've not told you, looks can fade. So you will not always be a supermodel forever. Even if you did the work to become a supermodel tomorrow and you are all over the globe, one day your looks will fail to deliver. So you want to make sure that you continue to develop yourself. As you make your money, begin to invest so that when the looks fade, you have something else to rest on. So keep developing. Don't rest on your oars. Remember, this is a gift, and when gifts are not properly used, they can be taken away. Again, my prayer is your gift will not be taken away. My 6th point is keep the right attitude. That's what I'm trying to say. Keep the right attitude. Be very careful how you speak to people right now. Be very careful to nurture the relationships that you will have right now. Your attitude must be top notch every time, because you can never tell what will happen tomorrow. Don't be that person who smelt success for 5 minutes and became a terrorist. This can pass. Keep the right attitude. The final thing I would like to say to Olajumoke is, when all of this is said and done and you become the big shot that we all know you can be, give back, because someone gave to you. Don't be selfish. Give back. To round off today's show, I want to go on to talk about equal opportunities. Remember that we started from original intent, and I said that where Jumoke was concerned, we might have seen her as a bread hawker, but in her DNA was supermodel and all the other things that she could be. God doesn't create failures. And one thing that I know for sure is that God gives every one of us, depending on what He's called us to do, He gives each and every one of us equal opportunities. So yes, she sauntered or she stumbled onto a photo shoot, but that was the day of her opportunity. And I was talking to my colleague and he was saying, do you really believe that we all have equal opportunities? I said yes, because before God we have equal opportunities. We may not have the same level of education. We may not all be born with a silver spoon, but we all have the equal opportunity of a will and a power of choice. And if you take whatever is God's original intent for you and you worked it out, you would still land a supermodel if that's who you are called to be. So there are some people who have been trying to be supermodels for so long, and here is this young lady. She just shows up and everything comes together for her. What you must not do is not begrudge her, because that is her process. Your own process is different, and it doesn't make her process any easier. Imagine from selling agege bread one day to being on CNN. That is more than enough to break a human spirit. The excitement can actually break a human spirit. So what am I saying? I'm saying that because we are all created with an original intent, God has something in mind, or had something in mind when He created each and every one of us. We need to go back to find out what this thing is. And when we find out what it is, we need to push it. Do your best. Remember, not everyone will have the opportunity that Olajumoke had, but everyone can do what Dr. Innocent Chukwuma did. Either way, they are both successes today, and we are clapping. And I want to leave you with the thoughts that you can do it. Whether someone just suddenly picks you and make you a supermodel, or you had to start from selling spare parts to become a vehicle manufacturer, it's all success. It's just that the process is different. You might be out there thinking, I'm not someone. One thing I want to leave with you is that you must remove the cap that seals your thoughts. Your thought ceiling must be removed, because you are not what you're going through today. You are not what you are doing today. You are exactly God's best, and it can come to pass if you push it. Till next week when I come your way, I'm Bidemi Mark-Mordi, and I may not know all the facts of these stories that I have tried to draw out lessons from, but I think that it makes sense for us to look at them carefully. Remember that when you discover purpose, you become powerful. God bless you.
Thank you for listening to Nevertheless. For more information and resources, call 0813-360-2883 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimark-mordi.com. Don't forget that when you discover your purpose, you will live powerful.